Let's see how the garden is looking this morning. We're reaching temperatures in the 90s today here in Zone 6B, which I know doesn't sound like a lot to some of you, especially in the south. But here, that is warm, so we are gonna make sure every plant has a drink of water before the sun starts shining down on it. Let's start with the sweet potatoes. Everything's looking pretty good here. We have some new growth starting, and hopefully they'll start vining soon. We'll see. My peppers, I did move some out of this space because I think I planted way too many close together this year. So everything's starting to bounce back and push out some really nice green growth. And then we have some peppers forming, of course, on some of these plants. But yeah, I think they're gonna make a comeback. Yay! I also added straw to the bottom of my beds because of this heat wave coming. It's just going to retain some of that moisture that we might lose with these hot days with no water in the forecast. It also suppresses weeds, so that's an added benefit. And you'll notice I always water at the base of my plants if I can, just to prevent any of that foliage from getting wet. Obviously, you cannot do that if you have a rainstorm come through. You can't prevent it from touching the foliage, but because I am hand watering, I do have control of that, and that just kind of slows down the potential risk of disease on these leaves or these plants, and hopefully prolongs my season. In just 1 week, I've seen a lot of growth in these tomatoes, which is also a good sign. It means that everything's working how it should and they're not stunted, so that's good. Some of my beans are popping up throughout here. Excited to see that. I ripped up the broccoli, and we have our zucchini plants that are really starting to take off. Edamame beans are looking really nice here, with the exception of some beets right next to it. Probably need to pull those out. I thinned these Cinderella pumpkins down to 2. Probably will need to only do 1 in this, but we'll see how things work out. And the tomatillos are taking off. We have some flowers for hopefully some potential fruit to grow. With the exception of this guy, he's just kind of sticking around, but we're not seeing much flowering. But maybe that just means that we can push out some more green growth before we get the flower. The slow bolt cilantro has not bolted, so that's exciting to see. I will report back after the end of this week and see how well it does throughout this heat wave. I pulled all of the flowering cilantro with the exception of this one for my pollinators, and you can save the seeds for coriander. And then this tomato plant is starting to make a comeback. I was really nervous about this one. It's doing a lot of leaf curling, however, it's still pushing out new leaves. And my guess is it was from under all of the stress of the amount of water and the wind we were getting, plus the temperatures were going up and down for a while, plus it was being transplanted. So it has been through a lot, and it still wants to try to survive. So I'm really happy to see that it's still continuing to grow up the trellis. I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'm not sure if it was from someone maybe spraying their yard for weeds or fertilizing their grass, but so far it just looks like an environmental thing, like elements, like rain, wind, something along those lines. But I am just going to continue to keep an eye on it. But the new leaves are looking pretty nice. They don't look like they're curling like the other ones. These older leaves are still curled, but everything's looking good, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I pulled majority of our sugar snap pea plants with the exception of this one because it still is wanting to produce pretty significantly without any stress on the plant. I'm not seeing anything alarming, so I'm just going to let it go and see what happens this week again with this heat wave coming. The potatoes are potatoing. I have removed all of the flowers on them, and I'm just kind of seeing how long it takes for them to finally die back, and so we can finally harvest our potatoes in the next coming weeks. But until then, we have some luscious green foliage to look at. At this point, this pepper plant in this grow bag is essentially going to be a crop that is for pests. Essentially a trap crop. Yes, we will not be eating any of this. The beans on this raised bed are starting to really take off as well. I have been coming through in succession sowing carrots. So every about 2 weeks, if I remember, I'll come through and plant new seeds of carrots so that they sprout in different times so that you can get continued harvests. These carrots are, I believe, honestly, I don't remember. I want to say it's like some dragon type of variety. It's more of like a purple outer layer, and then when you cut into it, there's a beautiful orange interior. So we have those, plus we have a whole bunch of other varieties that we have throughout the garden. I will probably stop sowing them for a couple weeks just so that we can wait until fall or closer to fall, I should say, and then we can harvest them throughout the fall, and then I'll plant some in the fall and try to overwinter them to see how sweet they are in the spring. The unagi cucumbers are flowering, and apparently every single one that flowers is supposed to be a fruit. So I think that's a baby cucumber right there. Come on, focus. There we go. I have continued to tie up this specific tomato variety this week up the trellis. I'm not complaining. That means that we are getting a ton of new growth. So I'm super excited to see these finally take off. My Max Pack variety of cucumbers are looking good and hopefully going to start vining up this trellis. This is starting to beautifully climb this smaller trellis, and we have some growing also on the other side. My pole beans are starting to vine up these larger trellises. Super excited about that. We have a problem. Every year this happens. It's flea beetles. If you know, you know. For some reason, they are obsessed with my eggplants. Honestly, I just keep these in until they look like they're too far gone. Sometimes we get some good luck and they overcome these annoying pests. My sugar baby variety of watermelon is finally growing, and I'm excited to see what we get from it. A very exciting discovery. This is my dragon tongue bean. They're not ready. The reason I know that is because they're kind of sticky when you touch them. When they feel more smooth and less sticky or grippy, that's when I'll pick them. But I will have to wait until my daughter comes because I am not allowed to harvest these without her. The strawberry bed has pushed off so much new growth. I'm really excited to see it spreading, but the wind did some damage to my makeshift netting situation. Another very exciting discovery are these provider beans that are essentially providing, and hopefully we can harvest them soon. My carving pumpkins are starting to really push off some new growth, and we have a lot in here, so I'll probably thin them out, but things are looking good. We harvested some of this celery the other day, and we still have so much more that we can harvest, but I'm letting it get a little bit thicker in the stalks. Look at the colors on this. I know it's not in its prime, but look how beautiful. And then I'm excited to see how these turn out. I will be harvesting them for cut flowers. Along with this side, I can't remember if this is the Goldie Bear. I'm kind of hoping it is because I really wanted to see how those looked in the garden. All of the onions have gone sideways in this bed, but I don't see any of the necks that have like completely turned over, so I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on them, maybe put them back up in place and see if they'll start to bulb out more. I have not had luck with my onions this year. So many of my zinnias are finally starting to get taller and branch out, and we'll have some beautiful flowers soon. My cosmos, oh, they're so beautiful. I love these flowers. This is the Oklahoma mix of zinnias. They are, I believe, just like the traditional colors. But look how beautiful and how big they're getting. I'm so excited. Look how much that basil has grown since our last harvest. Think of us during this heat wave here in Zone 6B, but so far everything's looking pretty good, and I'm so excited for the summer garden.